Ya, halo semuanya. Selamat datang di Skill Tree Online. Nah, di episode kali ini tuh bener-bener spesial karena kita kedatangan orang langsung dari Toon Boom Animation. Jadi itu adalah company animation yang benar-benar fokus ke animation dan tools untuk membantu uh, animation tersebut. Sessionnya mungkin bakal di English. Mungkin aku akan coba switch sekarang. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for attending this session. So we got a special guest right now, straight from the Toon Boom. Probably, if you haven't familiar with Toon Boom, is an animation company. And let just without further ado, let me introduce the speaker first. The first one is Sylvian. Hello, Sylvian.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Sylvian. So, and then the other one is Kim. Hello, Kim.
Hi.
So, may I ask you guys what we gonna learn today in this session before we start?
Do you want to
Um,
answer that one, Kim?
yeah. So I'm basically going to be doing a demo of the gaming features in Harmony.
Okay, that's great. And probably Sylvian.
Yes, so today we are going to be learning about how actually game developers can use our software, Toon Boom Harmony, to create 2D game assets and animate them in Harmony, and then finally export those into a game engine such as Unity. So the whole creative process, that's what we cover, from asset creation to assets animation and then export into Unity so that then the technical guys can do their magic and create a 2D game.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, okay. Without further ado, probably Sylvian would have a little bit of presentation first about Toon Boom.
Yes, so I'll start with introducing just quickly about Toon Boom animation because not everybody might know us,
Yep,
or bridge into the gaming industry is fairly recent.
yep.
So I'll just run you through a couple of slides together so you can learn more about Toon Boom and what we do.
Okay. Probably a little bit of notes. If you guys have any question, just put it on the chat, and then in the end, we do have an Q&A session to really answering if you guys have any question. Probably that's it. Yeah. I'll let you do the introduction. Thank you, Sylvian.
Thank you, Ardan. So I am now showing my screen. Everybody should be able to see my screen. And then let's get started. So Toon Boom Animation, Ardan mentioned it. We are an animation company, more specifically an animation technology company. So we create software, software for storyboarding and pre-production, and software for 2D animation production. So we've been in this industry now for over 25 years. We are a Canadian company with our head office based in Montreal, Quebec, and we are present all across the world in 135 countries with foreign offices now in Japan with one office in Tokyo, and in China with 3 offices across China. And then Toon Boom works also with people they call their partners or their agents or their representatives like me, who are spread out all across the rest of the world. So for my part, I take care of Toon Boom across Southeast Asia, excluded the Philippines, but that includes Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia as well, and up to Taiwan. Toon Boom, it's also part of a larger group that's called Chorus Entertainment. So Chorus is the largest media company in Canada. And that's interesting. And it also goes back to our expertise in animation because Chorus integrates the whole process from animation software to animation production to distribution of animated content in Canada. So they own Toon Boom Animation, us, the animation software company. They also own Nelvana. Nelvana is an animation studio. They are one of the major ones across the world, and they're also based in Canada. They produce both 2D and 3D animation for long form. So that means TV and digital series and feature films. And then they also, in Canada, distribute specialty TV channels that includes channels focused on cartoon and animation, so such as Disney Channel, Teletoon, and Nickelodeon as well. Toon Boom technology, it's actually a full pipeline with 3 pieces of software. So the first piece of software is Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, here we focus on the pre-production. So that covers scripting, storyboards, and also creation of animatics. So Storyboard Pro can be used on any kind of creative pipeline that's based on a story. It can be for short or long form, short film, series, as well as feature films, whether it's 2D animation, 3D animation, live action as well. But it can be used for games as well, for studios that do storyboards for their games, for really any types of creative content. So that's nice because it's a very flexible kind of tool, and that really covers the whole pre-production process. You can do your script, your storyboard, your animatic, all in one place without having to jump between different software. Then we have Toon Boom Harmony. So Toon Boom Harmony, here we focus on the production. And specifically here for Toon Boom Harmony, we focus on 2D animation production in different types of styles. That can be traditional, what we call frame by frame or hand-drawn animation, where I draw every single frame to create motion. But that can also be what we call now cutout or puppet animation, which is a different technique that has come more recently in the game of 2D, where here it's a technique that we're actually picking from 3D animation, where instead of drawing frame by frame, here I'm going to create a puppet. So the puppet is basically a 2D model. So I'm going to draw my 2D character, and then I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to use a tool that we call the node view or network view. This is something that you can find in 3D software like Maya. The node view is going to allow the artist to create what we call a rig. A rig, in simple words, is some sort of a skeleton to the character. And then with that rig and with other tools like deformers, I'm going to be able to animate my character without having to draw every frame of animation. So I'm basically moving the character around using that skeleton and the other tools that we have in the software, creating keyframes, and then the software will help me do the in-between automatically. Then, apart from the production, we also have a post-production process in Toon Boom Harmony. So post-production that covers the creation of 2D special effects, also scene compositing, and then final rendering, basically up to the final product. So Harmony here, historically, that's the standard software for long-form 2D
Sylvain,
animation.
sorry.
Yes.
Your presentation it's stuck on the first slide. Is that?
Is that so?
Yeah, I think you should share the
So let
screen
me unshare.
because some people just say it on the on the chat.
Okay, they did well to bring it up because I shared just this. So I'm gonna share my entire screen,
Yep,
and I
probably
think
is.
that way should be better. Okay, can you see the Toon Boom technology slide?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
All right.
here everybody can see Storyboard Pro. So we've moved to the second software, Toon Boom Harmony. So I was saying Toon Boom Harmony is the standard industry standard for 2D animation for long form. So TV series, feature films, now about 90% of all the major 2D long form productions, they are developed the animation, sorry, is produced in Toon Boom Harmony. So that's our core, really long form and even short form, but short films, series, whether it's for TV or digital, and then also feature films. But more recently, we bridged into gaming with Toon Boom Harmony, and this is the demo today. We are going to show you how you can use Harmony in a gaming pipeline. So now in Harmony, you can also create 2D assets for games. You can animate them, whether it's frame by frame or using the cutout technique with special tools for game developers. And then you can export these assets and the animation as well directly into game engines, and especially Unity. We have a whole new bridge that was released in October 2021 that allows you to export to Unity very seamlessly. The last piece of software is Toon Boom Producer. So Toon Boom Producer, here we are not looking at the art part of the pipeline. It's a production management and asset tracking software, basically. So you could compare it to something like Shotgun, F-Track, or even more simply Microsoft Project. It's really a tool that is used by the management at the studio to be able to better manage their productions. So everything that's happening in the studio, the different projects, the different teams, and also with producer, they will get a lot of information about what's happening in production to be able to take better decision and be more efficient. So games in Toon Boom pipeline. So I said that the bridge of Toon Boom into gaming is fairly recent, but there are already games that have been produced using this pipeline with Toon Boom Harmony for the 2D asset creation and animation, and then Unity specifically for the game development. So here you have a couple of examples. Sundered, Spirit Father, and Jotun are from Thunder Lotus Games in Canada. Speed Brawl and Loud House Out of Control that are produced by Double Stallion, also in Canada. Loud House is an IP that belongs to Nickelodeon. And Grease, also from Nomada Studio in Spain. These are all very stylized games, and they really benefit from the creation and animation tools in Toon Boom Harmony, because Harmony has been developed for long form animation. The tools that are available in Harmony are really powerful. They are even much more powerful than what you would usually need in your game animation. Game animation being much more simple and restricted compared to long form animation. So I invite you to have a look at these games if you'd like to get a better idea of the kinds of styles, the kinds of games as well that have been produced, that can be produced in our pipeline. And just a last slide here. This is to share our contacts with us since we're on a live today. So here for our end, I repeat, we are actually taking care specifically of Indonesia and also Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, and Cambodia. You have my contact as well as my colleague Eric's contact, or emails and mobile phones, as well as WhatsApp. So if you're from Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, or Cambodia, you can contact us directly. If you are from somewhere outside of these countries, you can connect to Toon Boom with the email address desk@toonboom.com, or you can go on the Toon Boom website, toonboom.com/contact, and here you will have access to a web form as well where you can contact us. So I'm just putting this here so that you have it at the end of the demo. We will also be doing some announcement about free assets and also a promotion for our training course, Harmony for Gaming as well. So keep these contacts, because if you are interested in free assets or in getting the promotion that we'll be announcing at the end, you can contact us here, whether it's through email or phone or WhatsApp as well. All right. So that's it for the introduction. I don't want to keep you any longer from the demo. So I guess next I will be giving the lead to Kim, and she will be showing you Toon Boom Harmony and our tools for the game development.
Hi. So I'm going to start the Harmony demo now. So welcome to the Harmony 21 gaming demo. I'm just going to hide my camera and share my screen with you. With the screen share. So Harmony 21, or Harmony in general, is just a very, very widely used software. It is mostly used for film and series, but of course now we are starting to become a little bit more prevalent in the gaming area of the industry. And so we are also starting to build more tools to help people create their game assets in our software. Harmony is a self-contained software, which means that for your game assets especially, you can create everything from start to finish in Harmony. So you can create your backgrounds, you can create your character designs from your rough to your color to your final, and then of course to your animation in Harmony. So all you need is Harmony to create your game assets. So I'm just going to quickly show you the two different types of exports that we have from Harmony. I will go a little bit more into exports later on in the demo as well, but this is just to give you an idea of what you can export from Harmony and where the limitations and advantages are of these exports. So the first type of export that we have is the single sprite sheet export. So this will export your animations in a flat sprite sheet. The advantage to this kind of export is you can use it in any type of game engine. So you're not restricted to any game engine. You can use this in any game engine that you are using. And the other advantage to this is that you can use any tools in Harmony to create your animation, because at the end of the day, everything will be flattened into a flat sprite sheet. So you can use all of the Harmony tools. The drawback of this type of export is that you will have a larger file size, so it can be a bit heavier on your assets. The second type of export that we have is the sprite sheets exploded export. So it sounds a bit dramatic, but what this is this export is specifically for Unity. The advantages of using this is that you can export each separate piece into Unity. So if you're using like a cutout character, each separate piece will be exported as a sprite sheet to Unity and will be then put back together inside of the software. You'll be able to use things inside Unity like the skinning features and the color features and stuff like that, because you'll have the Harmony SDK installed, which is the development kit that Unity uses to work with Harmony and integrate with Harmony. You have smaller file sizes with this export. So of course that makes your game a little bit lighter. The only limitation here is that you can only use specific tools in Harmony to create these characters. And I'm going to go over this again as we go through the demo so that you know the difference between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Harmony. So some of the features that you'll see for gaming in this version of Harmony is only available in Harmony 21. Things like the skinning and the scene markers view are only available in Harmony 21. In older versions, you'll have one or two of the gaming features, but just keep that in mind that there are newer features in Harmony 21 that you will not find in the older versions. Okay, so I'm going to start with the drawing tools just to show you guys how easy it is to create your character art in Harmony. Let me just change this to the gaming demo layout. So I'm going to use my library to drag in some templates. Now, the library is a fantastic tool for you to be able to share templates and save templates. So anything that you create in Harmony can be pulled into this library. And then those libraries can be shared with others. So if you're working in a studio environment, this can be very helpful as well. So I'm going to just drag in the drawing tools template into my scene. Okay. So the first tool I'd like to show you is the bitmap tools for drawing in Harmony. Now, you can have both bitmap and vector artwork in Harmony. It is initially a vector software, but we've added bitmap so that you can still have that feeling of drawing on paper, that sort of natural feeling of sketching in Harmony. So this over here is a bitmap image. If we zoom in, you'll see that you do get some pixelization on the line, and that's because that is a bitmap line. You can see it as a flattened image. You cannot select the separate pieces and edit them separately, but you can use tools like the select tool to squash, stretch, and the cutter tool to cut away sections of that artwork. The only drawing tool that you can use on a bitmap layer in Harmony is the brush tool. This tool is quite extensive. You can use it for your vector and your bitmap. And there's a lot of options that you can use when you use this tool. So we do have some presets over here that give you some options for drawing with, but we have a lot of options inside of the actual brush settings that can really help you customize your brush tool. So we have textured brush tips. You can import your own brush tips as well. Of course, you have your maximum and minimum size for your tablet weight. Over here, we have a section that helps you to basically specialize or customize those settings even further. So you can customize pressure, you can invert the pressure, you can create tilt speed, you can create a taper on your line that is calculated after you draw on the line so that you have that exact same taper on every line that you draw. There's a fade. So really, there's a lot that you can do here with the brush tool. You also have transparency, dual tips. This is something you might have seen in like Photoshop, for instance, paper textures. So there's a lot you can do here, and you can just save these as presets as well. So if you ever create a brush that you like, you can save it straight into your preset. So we're going to jump along now to the vector artwork. This now is your more solid artwork. This is the solid vector brush. It is not textured like you saw with the bitmap brush. I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see how no matter how far I zoom in, you never lose quality on that line. And that is the solid brush line. And you can see that I can also grab these lines separately, edit them, rotate them. So it's a lot easier to manipulate than, say, a bitmap brush line. If we go back to the settings, you'll see that, again, these are very similar to what you just saw. You just don't have things like your hardness and spacing on the solid vector. But we do have the option of a textured vector, which is known as a hybrid brush. So this is the next one in our lineup. This is a bitmap texture inside of a vector envelope. So it's basically the best of both worlds. You're able to edit it like a vector, but you have that texture of a bitmap brush. And this brush will have all of the settings that you saw in the bitmap brush with the added smoothing setting. You can also see that when I grab a brush line with my select tool, it has a contour But you are not restricted to using a contour on a brush line. You can also use the center line editor on your brush lines to control the center spine of that object. So you can add points and easily change the shape of that line. I'm going to now jump to the pencil line tools. So as you can see over here, we have the pencil tool. This is only used on vector layers. You cannot use this on a bitmap layer, but this is an incredibly helpful tool in Harmony. We tend to use this more for our final animation, so our cleanup. And the reason why is because this brush is able to recalculate itself even after it is drawn. So if you decide you want to change the style of your drawing, you can easily just select all of the pencil lines, go to the tool properties, change the thickness, change the texture of those lines very easily, which is something you cannot do with the brush tool. So we usually recommend using the brush for like a rough sketching of your character and your animation, and using the pencil for your final cleanup, because it's very easy to change the pencil after you have created the line. And then, of course, the pencil line also has textures. So this means that you get that hybrid as well, and you can create your own textures and import them into Harmony as well for both the brush and the pencil. Then we have the cutter tool. I showed it to you on the bitmap. So this allows you to just cut and move sections of your artwork away. Over here, I'm just going to do a little example of the gesture cutter tool. So I draw some lines over here and I cross over my line. You can then grab the cutter tool and just draw a stroke across those little bits that are showing up on either side of the line, and it will easily just cut it away for you. So while I'm here, I'd like to show you the stabilizer tool. So this is a really helpful tool to help you create sort of stable lines. I mean, it's called the stabilizer. We do also have smoothing as an option, but smoothing will smooth your line out after you've drawn it. So if I draw this, you can see that it tries to smooth it out after I've drawn the line. Stabilizer will actually allow you to stabilize your line as you draw it. So the average stabilizer will try to help control the line as you draw, and then you can couple that with the smoothing so that not only do you have the stabilizer, but you have the smoothing on top of that. And then we also have the pulled string, and this one's kind of fun. It feels like you're walking the dog. It feels like you've got a little leash with a little dog on it. So you've got a string that pulls your line, and then at any point you can stop and change direction. So you actually have slack on that line. So those are just some of the drawing tools, or the most used drawing tools in Harmony that you can use to create your character designs. Now, if you're not keen on drawing and somebody has created assets for you in Photoshop, for instance, you can actually import the image into Harmony, and Harmony will recognize the separated layers from Photoshop. You can also just import flat bitmap images straight into Photoshop, straight into Harmony as well. I'm going to use my library for this, but you can use your file import images to bring in Photoshop files, all flat JPEGs or PNGs or any sort of, actually there's quite a few file types you can import in. This over here is a Photoshop file that has separate layers. So you can see that Harmony recognizes all of those layers as separate parts of the character. So maybe you have a character that's already created in Photoshop and is separated into layers. You can bring that into Harmony and use it as a layered character. You just have to keep in mind that any image you bring in from Photoshop or from a bitmap or JPEG will be in a bitmap format and not a vector format. So keep that in mind if you are looking to import PSD images. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the first style of animation that we have available in Harmony, and this is the frame by frame animation. So this means that your animation is created, move that across, cancel. Your animation is created frame by frame. So this is like your traditional style of 2D animation that you would do on paper, except you're just using the digital format to create each drawing one by one. If you do use this style of animation, you are going to have to use the single sprite export because you won't be able to have an exploded character, if that makes sense. This is just a character on one layer that has been animated frame by frame. When I show you the cutout animation, you'll see how that can then be exported into separate pieces. So when you're animating your paperless animation, there are a couple of tools that can really help with your animation. So one of those tools is the onion skin. The onion skin will show you your next and previous drawings in your animation. So this helps you to create more accurate in-betweens for your drawings. And in the onion skin view, you are actually able to customize this. So you can change how harsh or how light that onion skin is. You can change the actual colors that you are using. If you switch to an advanced onion skin, you'll be able to customize it even further. So you'll be able to turn off and on specific drawings in the onion skin. You'll be able to fade either side rather than both sides at the same time. And you can also fade single drawings in your advanced onion skin. So now if I want to go ahead and paint this character, I would like to use a color model for this. Now you don't have to use a color model, but it does help a lot. So let's say someone has created a character design for you in the software, which means that they have created the color palette as well. You can pull that into the model view over here and use that as a reference for your animation in your scene. You can also pick the colors straight from the color model, so that if you're not sure which color goes where, then this is a really easy way to figure out which color needs to go where. You just pick it. It takes you directly to the color swatch in the color palette down here. And then you are able to go ahead and fill your character in. What we've done here with this character, and it's something that we do with a lot of characters actually, is we've separated the line art and the color art. So this is really helpful when your character needs to go to compositing, or maybe you just want to make sure that you keep your line and color separate so you can do things like cutters, masks, and so on and so forth. So it's quite handy to keep those separate. So every drawing layer and every frame on your timeline has a set of art layers. Right now we're looking at the line art layer. If we jump to the color art layer, you can see that there are these little blue lines here. These are invisible strokes that are basically going to help us fill in our color on a layer separate from our line art without having any line art visible on that color art layer. So if I go ahead and just fill in his ears, and then we can just going to fill in a little bit over here, not too much. But you can see how easy it is to just grab your colors from your color model and then fill in the character over here. It's very important to keep in mind that if you are going to export to Unity, Unity will not recognize the overlay and underlay color art layers. It will only recognize the line art and color art. But you can still use the overlay layers to write notes about the character, as long as you're okay with that not being visible in Unity. If you're going to flatten this to the single sprite sheet export, you can use all of the art layers. If I go back to my camera, you can see how now everything is together in the camera view, but is separate on the art layers. So it might take some time for you to go through a whole paperless animation and fill in each drawing at a time. We have some tools to help speed that up for you. So I'm going to use my paint bucket tool and my onion skin, so I can see the drawings in my animation. And if I go to my tool properties for my paint bucket, I can then choose the option to either apply this action to all frames or apply to the onion skin range. So the onion skin range being this little section over here in my timeline. And by using this tool, I'm able to actually fill in multiple frames at once. So I can just draw a line over my onion skin, and I can actually fill in these drawings on either side without having to jump to the frame. Oops, I used the wrong color. Okay. Sometimes your colors will spill over, but it's easier to fix that than it is to go through and color every little section of the character one by one in your animation. So it just helps to speed up your animation. And then the last thing I wanted to show you here, this is actually something that we use more with cutout animation than we use in paperless, but this is a good example of how it works. So this character is standing on his little gems, and his scarf is cycling through an animation. So the scarf is separated onto its own layer, and those drawings are just repeated over and over again to create a cycle of animation on the scarf. So what I wanted to show you is that every time you create a new drawing on a layer, it becomes a drawing substitution. So it gets saved into the library, which means that at any point you can access your drawing substitution view or your library view, whichever way you want to do it, and you can actually switch that drawing to a different drawing in your substitution view. So this is, as you can imagine, great for cutout animation where you need to switch to a specific eye shape or a hand or something like that. That is how you create your libraries in Harmony. Okay, we are going to leave the paperless and we're going to go and look at your cutout animation now. So cutout animation is the second type of animation that you can create in Harmony. This is basically now what you're doing is you're breaking up your character into pieces. So instead of having the character all on one layer and it's moving all on one layer, you now have each part of the character on a separate layer. So here's the hand, here's the arm. These are all the substitution drawings for that arm. This is the head, the hair. You can actually separate each part of the hair into separate pieces. So it just depends on how much you want to move on your character. And you'll just separate it however you feel is right for you. This specifically is a rig made for gaming. So this rig here does not use all of the deformers in Harmony or all of the special tools. It uses the ones that are going to work for Unity. And those are things like your game bones and so on and so forth. So before I show you the game bones, I would just like to show you the node view. The node view is incredibly useful. This can be useful for rigs. It can be useful for compositing scenes, but basically this is a view that shows you all of the elements in the scene separated into nodes, and then it shows you how those nodes are connected with one another. So in this case, because we have the separate pieces of the character, we have to have a way to move those pieces, and we need to have a hierarchy so that we can move the pieces together when we need to. So if we take a look at the hand, over here you can see the drawing element. And then above that is a green node, and this is known as a peg. And a peg is an invisible controller. The only thing I can really liken it to is if you've used After Effects, you would have like a null object that kind of works in a similar way. So it's that invisible controller that allows you to transform the object and also set keyframes, so animation keyframes on that peg. So every part has its own peg that you can use to transform and animate the object. And then above that, we have hierarchy pegs. So this will then allow you to connect more than one part at a time. So if we want to move the whole arm, we now have the hierarchy peg that we can use to do that. So you'll see that with the feet as well. Feet will have its own peg, and then you can work your way up the hierarchy to the entire leg. And then if you keep going up, you will eventually get to the whole body. And using the node view for this just makes it so much easier than using the timeline. You can, of course, use the timeline to set up your rigs, but it's a lot easier to have a visual representation of how everything is connected in the node view. So now we're going to look at game bones, and game bones are the only deformers in Harmony that you can use for an exploded Unity export. If you are using the single sheet export, as I showed you earlier, you could use any tools in Harmony. But if you're going to work with Unity, you use the game bone deformer tools. So this character has some game bones attached to him. Let's use maybe the arm bone. There is no arm bone. Let's use, here we go, the scarf. There we go. Okay. So this is a bone deformer. It means that you have a joint that you can work with to bend a part of your animation or rig. Of course, this saves you a lot of time because it means that you don't have to go and add this drawing, this drawing, this drawing, this drawing, this drawing to your substitution drawings to create that animation. You can just put in a deformer, and the minute that you edit that deformer, it will set a keyframe for you, and it will interpolate the motion of the deformer. So it does save you a lot of time in animation. You can also use deformers to squash and stretch your parts as well. So this character has a couple of them on here. He's got them on his feet so that he can do a little tiptoe, little tap tap. Got on the leg so that it can bend the leg. You can see that the foot is not following the leg in that case. But you can, there is actually a node that you can use to easily attach parts like the hands and the feet to deformers so that they follow the deformer. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the animations that have been created for this character. You can see down here in the timeline, you have some keyframes that are creating animation in this puppet. So you can see here the character is idling. And you can see that there are these sections of color above the timeline. These are known as scene markers. Now, originally, they were created to sort of allow you to organize your timeline and show people where specific parts of the rig were or the animation was. But we have actually found that they're very helpful for game assets. So now we have a scene markers view that allows you to instantly jump to a marker. So you can see we've chosen the walk marker. So now it's jumped to the orange marker here. And now I can just play that animation. Maybe I want to jump to the walk item. So this is the character walking with an item. We can have the pickup item animation. So once your character is rigged, you can then set up all of the animations and set scene markers for them, be able to access those animations in the scene marker view. And then when you export to Unity, you can export these separate scene markers as clips to Unity. So that makes this really, really easy to use as well. This is not something that you will have in the single sprite sheet export, but you will have it in the Unity export. Okay, so another thing I would like to show you on this character is the palettes and the, leave that, there we go. The palettes and the skinning on this character. So in Harmony, we did kind of look at the colors when we were using the model view. So every character in Harmony can have its own color palette. This means that you can organize your color palettes and keep them nice and clean without having any problems with colors sort of colliding with each other if you have multiple characters in a scene. So over here, we have actually 2 palettes for this character. Right now he's in his autumn palette, but we also have the default color palette. So you can make multiple color palettes for one character simply by cloning a palette, applying a color change to that palette, and then selecting that palette and pushing it up in your palette window over here. So you can see he immediately changes to his default colors. And then if I go back to the autumn and push it back up, he changes to his autumn colors. So this allows you to change colors pretty easily. And I believe that you can use this in Unity as well, like actually switch your color palettes in Unity, again, using the Harmony SDK. So this is an extra thing that you can create for your characters if you want them to have different color palettes for different environments. And then, of course, we have skinning, which is a similar idea to the color palettes, but these are actually costumes that the character has and can be changed. So this character has a couple of different eyes. We can change his eyes to sunglasses. And there you go. So you can create skins for your character and actually, again, access those in Harmony. So what he had before was a mix of skins. So he had a mixture of the elements over here, and then I just switched to the eyes and changed the elements of the eyes. So you're able to easily change, obviously you'll have to create these skins, but you'll be able to save them into the skinning view over here, and then switch them whenever you want. And of course, save them as skins to Unity, so that you can switch them out in Unity as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the export to Unity and sprite sheets. So up here in my gaming toolbar, I have the easel.js export, and I have the export to sprite sheets. So the easel.js is your single sprite sheet export, which I showed you before. This is the one that can be used in any game engine, but it's a bit larger. You can use all of the tools in Harmony, but your characters will be flattened into a sprite sheet at the end of it. So these are the options for your export to easel.js. You have the existing clips and folder. This hasn't been exported yet, so there's nothing here. But if you have already exported clips from a scene, it will let you know which clips are already there in case you don't want to, re-export the same clips. You just want to export maybe 1 or 2. Then you're able to do that without having to re-export the whole animation or scene. And then down here you have reused frames. This is pretty good because if you have any poses in your animation that are the same or very similar, you can change the threshold depending on how much you want Harmony to pick up on. So how much of a difference in each image you want it to pick up on. But Harmony will basically reuse any similar frames that it sees rather than creating new drawings. And that will, of course, make your file size lighter. And then down here, we have some preset resolutions. So we have the iPad and the iPhone resolutions. And then, of course, you can add your own resolution with the plus if you need to. And then we're going to look at the export to sprite sheet XML. This is your Unity export. So this is going to look at things like your scene markers. As I mentioned earlier, you can use scene markers to export clips. So each of these scene markers will be a clip that is exported for Unity. You have similar options here as the previous export. So reuse frames is still available, but you have even more options down here, like baking the animation curves and exporting sprites individually, so on and so forth. Project settings and sprite resolutions, same as we just saw. And then, of course, you can add your own as well. So if you're going to export to Unity, I would like to show you what that looks like in Unity. We've created a very, very simple little scene in Unity, just to show you more or less like what this character looks like in the software. Okay, so here we have his walk, and you can pick up this object. We can drop it over here. And so you can see these are basically like the scene markers have been exported as clips, and Unity has, rather the SDK has the animation controller where you're allowed to sort of link up these clips together in the order that you want them to happen as your character is being controlled. I gotta say, I'm not a Unity user, so if you do have any Unity questions that I can't answer, I'm really sorry about that, but we can always get the answers for you from one of our experts. And then up here, you have the skins that you can sort of switch through. So these are things that are accessible in Unity if you choose to do the Unity export. Of course, you just have to keep in mind that you have those limitations in Harmony with the game bones and so on and so forth. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to mention to you is just our Learn portal and our support. So if you do ever have a question that needs, you need us to answer for you that you can't find anywhere, you can contact us at support@toonboom.com, or of course, Sylvan also has those contacts that you can contact if you need us. And I'd like to show you our Learn portal, which is learn.toonboom.com. This has everything you need to sort of learn how to create rigs and paperless animation in Harmony. And we also have a little section on gaming. Of course, this is going to expand as we create more gaming features and so on in Harmony. But this is a great place to start if you would like to learn. Okay, I think that's it from me. Sylvan, I don't know if you have anything extra.
I'm back online. Okay, thank you, Kim. Thank you very much for the demo. The only thing I would like to add as well before we move on to the Q&A. So there are actually two things. You've already shown the Learn portal, which is our free access portal where everybody can find the free access course with tutorials, explanations, and also assets to download to experience with the software. Apart from the Learn portal, we will also be running online training courses for Harmony for gaming. And so we are actually now trying to bring up a first group together of 7 to 10 participants. And we will be offering 20% discount to that first group as well. So if you're interested to learn Harmony for gaming and you would like to have an actual professional teach you how to create assets, how to animate assets in Harmony for your gaming pipeline, we'll have that course. Again, if we can make up a class of 7 to 10 people, we'll be offering 20% discount to everyone. On top of that, we also have links to free assets and also to the free SDK so that you can plug in your Harmony with Unity. So if you'd like to receive those links and those free assets, drop us an email at the address I showed earlier, whether it's mine or my colleague's Eric. If you're, of course, outside of the countries we cover, you can also contact Toon Boom directly. And we'll be sending you the links, and same for the online training and the 20% discount. If you're interested, please do drop us an email or give us a call, chat with us on WhatsApp at the contacts that I shared, so we can send you the information, please.
Could you, Sylvian, put up the contact list on the side probably to make sure that everyone could see where should we contact you
Yes, so would
guys?
you
In
like me
Tunbum?
to share my screen again?
Yep.
Or...
At, at,
Okay.
at, I think the last slide that had the contact.
Yes. Sorry, let me open it up again. Sorry.
Okay. While we're waiting for Sylvian, there is couple of question, and also a couple of question also for me. Probably after. Yeah. So yeah. So if you guys wants to contact Toon Boom, probably it's good to screenshot probably this, right?
Yes, you can
uh,
take a screenshot, right? Or even, I believe the recording of this
yep.
session will also be available at all times on your YouTube channel. Is that right, Alan?
Yep, absolutely. So if you guys miss anything on this like session, don't worry because after this live is finished, give like couple of minutes and it would up it would live it would upload it in the in this channel itself. That's it. Okay, I think should we move to Q&A? So
Yeah.
okay. Yep.
Yes, yes, let's move on to the
There's a
Q&A.
couple of question, probably from Ruben, that really wants to know more about the skins and integrate them with the Unity, or at least like the workflow of it. Like Kim, uh, Kim does the presentation about it a little bit, right? So probably like maybe if I'm familiar with Unity and I'm not really familiar with Toon Boom, like is there any workflow or you can explain like something how to apply the skin? Is it like different files or things like that?
I imagine they would be substitution drawings. So for the glasses, for instance, let me share
Mm,
my screen. So I'm not sure about the exact workflow because I don't make games.
mm,
Um, but I can maybe give you an idea.
yep.
So if we look at this character's glasses, and you take a look at the drawing substitutions. So one of the skins was a change in his glasses, right?
Mm,
So these are substitution drawings, which means that all they are is on the glasses layer for the character, another substitution drawing, like another drawing was added with these glasses on. And then these glasses were basically saved into the skinning view, which is
right.
this window over here. So you save it as a skin. So when you create it, it's just another drawing that will take on the animation of whatever animation you've applied on the character. So because you're using translation and keyframes,
Mm,
it'll just take on whichever keyframes are on the glasses peg. And then you have to just program it as a skinning item. So as another skin for the glasses, if that makes sense. And then
Yep.
Harmony just picks up on it because of the skinning view and the fact that the skinning view kind of programs it as a skin for you. Unity will pick up on that. So
Yeah.
I don't know like the exact, like I can't show you the exact way that you go around and do it because I actually have never created a game before. So, but I do know that it's a substitution drawing and you program it in as a skin for that part of the body. And
Okay.
that's how you go around doing it. Yeah.
All right. All right. Probably Ruben could, if you have any question for us to ask. Cool. Okay. There is another question that can we use Harmony to make pixel art?
You can. We don't have anything that is sort of dedicated to creating pixel art. We have a pixelate node in the effects, but it's more of like
A
something that you
filter?
would use to censor,
Oh,
like
okay.
that sort of pixelate rather than a pixel art. What you can do is you could use a pencil or a brush tool that is perfectly square. So you would choose like your square brush. Well, okay, you can't actually do it with the pencil now that I think about it. With your brush tool, you could actually create a perfectly square brush. And if you just keep those proportions the same and you use something like your grid or something like that to help you keep, the proportions the same all the way up and throughout the pixel art, you could create it like that. So I would say yes, but maybe, well, I don't know, because when I think of pixel art, I think of how I've done it before in Photoshop and how you have to zoom in so far that you get that grid that comes up with the little blocks, and then you put the blocks. It's the same idea in Harmony,
Right.
really. It's just a little
Exactly.
bit more, yeah. So I would say yes. You just have to work out the way to create it.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. I understand it.
Yeah.
So there is like one last question, but it's from my DMs, so it's not really on here. Like a lot of like developer in Indonesia, at least, they use like Photoshop and the frame in Photoshop. So let's say they new to the Toon Boom. Should they rework all of the frame, the keyframe that they use in Photoshop and stuff like that, or they can just start out, imported the PSD, and then there's all the frame that
So
they've been.
they've animated it in Photoshop
Yeah,
using the.
yeah, because there is a keyframe in Photoshop, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit, yeah, it's a lot simpler. That's a good question because you could definitely bring in the PSDs with the separated parts.
All right.
And I know that sometimes when you import a PSD, you can get the frames to show up on the Harmony timeline, but I've never tried it with an animation from Photoshop.
Yep.
I've never
Okay.
tried that. We could maybe I could ask someone at Toon Boom and see if anyone knows the answer to that.
Mm.
I don't know if they would, but that's a good question. I mean, you could try it, and if it doesn't work, then you might have to sort of import the PSDs one by one instead of like one file with all of the animation in, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
But as long as the layer is correct from the PSD, you can just straight to the Toon Boom, right? At least
So
at
if
least for the character itself.
you use the layers to animate in Photoshop, right?
Yep, exactly.
So each layer is like a new drawing.
Oh no, I mean the character itself on the
Oh, the
head, the
character. If you
body.
don't, yeah, like if there's no, so I'm thinking about the animation timeline
No, the
in
animation
Photoshop.
is from the animation itself is like the change component of the layer. Like let's say same as similar to this one.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean
You could try it.
um
That's all I could
okay.
say. Is like you could try it and see what happens. I've never been asked that question before, so I've never tried it myself.
Okay, okay.
But I think it is going to read the separate layers,
Okay.
definitely. How that interprets when you're doing animation in Photoshop and then bringing it into Harmony, I don't know.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, like, you can try it and experiment and see what comes
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's is there any closing statement for the session for you two from Sylvian? I guess if you want to contact us for another, and then probably that's for the learn page itself. Could you put that up first, Kim? For
Oh, yeah.
the Yeah, can you explain more about, because your explanation is a little bit short on the learning. So if anybody have any
Okay.
question, probably you could focus
Sorry, let
on
me just
the
share my screen
learning.
again. Okay. So
Yes, Kim,
yeah.
maybe you can show them some of the modules, not just
Okay.
like open
Yeah.
some of the course, so just that they see how it breaks down.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's learn.toonboom.com. It's free. So all of the courses on here are free. Right now, the only one for gaming that we have, which you can find on the main page, is the Harmony 21 for gaming. So this is more of just an overview of the features in the software. You've got the new features, so that's the new gaming features available in 21. And then this over here is just a breakdown of those features. But a lot of these features you can actually find in other parts of the Learn portal. So things like creating your paperless animation and creating your rigging animation. So those can be found in the courses part of the Learn portal. So we've got a lot of courses here. We've got advanced storyboarding. We've got Harmony Premium Kickstarts. We've got more specific courses for the new features for separate versions of Harmony. So if you are struggling to find anything, just go into your search bar and look up rigging, for instance, and then you'll get more specific.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
more
I
specific
see.
tutorials on that subject. Otherwise, you can go into Journeys, and Journeys are a collection of courses for the rigging artist or the
Mhm.
cutout animator or the compositing artist, so on and so forth. So that will take a whole bunch of courses and put it into a journey for you to go through. So there's a lot, there's a lot on the portal, and we're adding to it like every year. Um,
Awesome.
so
There's also
again,
a
if
certification I see on the bottom.
there, sorry.
The
Oh yes, yes, yes. But
certification
these
also.
are the association certifications. They're not the professional certifications. The
All right.
association, yeah, the associate certifications are um, multiple choice
Okay.
exams, yeah, that you take, and the professional one is one that you have to apply with us for. We send you the files, and then you do the exercises and send them back to us. So it's more of a practical exam for the
Mm,
professional one. Um, and then this is just the associate preparation. So it's more for the high school students and that sort of thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
There
and we
is
have
right. Okay.
sorry,
Go on.
Adan. We have separate certifications for both Storyboard Pro and Harmony. So you have
Okay.
these two levels: Associate, which is more of a beginner thing, multiple choice questionnaire; then Professional, that's really, as the name says, professional, which is actual assignments in the software. And there is for each level there is Storyboard Pro and Harmony are separate. So that's something that the associate one is usually students from institutions. The professional certification, that can be professionals from the industry that use Storyboard Pro and Harmony, or that can also be educators from schools as well.
Okay. Okay. Understand. There is two other question. May I?
Mm-hmm.
Um. So from Whispering Dreams, if you import an Illustrator file into Harmony, will the vector works?
Um, you can get a plugin for that, a free plugin, from what I know,
Right.
because I've done it before, but I did it years ago. and we just needed a plugin so that Harmony could read the vector lines, the vector shapes. I don't know if that's changed or if they've updated it so that it automatically works. Let's see if it, I don't know if it'll show it on. Yeah. But yeah, I know that it is possible. You just might need a plugin for it.
It's a free plugin for Toon Boom, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least that's what I used a couple of years ago when I did it. So hopefully there's a new updated one.
All right.
Yeah.
And the last one is from Lionel Tang. Okay, greetings. I have a question regarding the Toon Boom workflow. When we want to apply effects, let's say sword slashes, fire particle, air breeze, can Toon Boom do all the work, or is there any
Yeah.
way possible to do that?
Actually,
Or can
Toon
you
Boom
show us?
has a node library. So this is premium, right? Not
Mm,
advanced or essentials. So Harmony Premium has a node library which has all of these nodes. I mean, I think it's like 420 by default or something like that. There's a lot. And there's particles as well. There's particle systems available. They've got some pre-made ones here that you can play around with, or you can create your own particle system. There's light shading. So this is it's kind of like a fake 3D light shading. So
yep.
you actually have a light source that you can move around your scene, and it will affect your 2D characters like they have a 3D surface on them almost. So really, there's a lot you can do with compositing in Harmony Premium.
Are they also compatible with the Unity when we talk about game dev, right? Or just
I'm not sure about that, actually.
okay.
Obviously, like if you do the flat sprite sheets, you'll be fine. But I'm not sure about the Unity export. I don't think it would be compatible with most of these effects, actually.
I think it has to be the flat. It has to be the flat sprite sheet if you want to add effects to your animation. Yes, so it wouldn't work with the other format of export.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to use all the bells and whistles, you'll have to do a flat sprite sheet export.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it depends which restrictions you want to work on, basically, like Kim mentioned, right? If you want to use the exploded sprite sheet, which is, where you get much better flexibility than in Unity, because you can use the sliders to change your skins and so on. But then you have to make your character simple enough, so you can't use hand-drawn animation. It has to be a real character, and you're also limited to the deformers and bones made for games specifically, because we have other types of deformers in Harmony where you can create much more complex characters and animation, but those wouldn't work with the exploded sprite sheet. But they do work then if you use the flat sprite sheet, which you won't have as much flexibility when you export into Unity, but you can do the frame by frame animation, and you can also use much more complex tools we have for the rigging and the puppet animation as well.
All right. That's great explanation. Lionel, also thanks for the detailed explanation as well. Okay, I think because it's already an hour, probably if you guys have like one or two sentences to end the session.
Yes. So maybe just as the summary, I think what would be the benefits of using Harmony for a game developer or a game studio that produces 2D games? I think the first one is the fact that you've got everything for the creative process in one place, right? You can do everything in Harmony. You can create your assets. So starting from drawing, you can create your rigs, you can animate your assets as well, and then export into Unity. And then in
Right.
Unity, you will only be about the technical development of the game,
Yes.
right? The backend, versus maybe using Photoshop and then importing your Photoshop files into Unity and using the animation tools in Unity before you get into the game development. Or you're maybe using Photoshop and Spine, because you can draw in Spine, right? So you have to draw in Photoshop, then you can animate in Spine, which is really made for the animation for games, and then export into Unity. So here it's really that ability to do everything in one place. It's less specialized than Photoshop itself for the drawing, or Spine itself for the game animation, but you have everything in one place, from drawing, creating your assets, skins, backgrounds, character, work cycles, animating, exporting. And then the second thing is, if you don't really mind about doing an exploded sprite sheet, which will limit what you can do in terms of your animation, and you're fine with the traditional flight sprite sheet, then you can use really powerful animation tools, whether it's hand drawn or puppet animation in Harmony, that have been built for long form animation. So which are, like, again, much more powerful even than what you would usually need in your game pipeline. But you have access to that if you don't mind going to the standard flat sprite sheet, basically.
All right. Probably if okay, for ending the session, I would say that thank you for Kim and Sylvian for the session itself. For the all the attendant, thank you also for attending this session. So if you guys have any further question, don't uh, let's say just contact Sylvian based on the what I call the contact that the slide itself. And if you guys miss couple of part of the session, there would be a recording for this after this. And probably that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Ardan, as well, and thank you,
Thank you,
Agi,
Kim.
and everybody who participated. Okay,
Yeah.
have a nice
Thank
Thank you.
day and
Thank
you.
take
you. Have
care.
a nice
Thank
day.
you. Bye
Bye.
bye.